All right, guys. Brian here, episode 46, Holdcast, sitting on hold fast. See what I did there? Today we're talking basically, it's the intro to cruising, going your first passage, really just getting your boat ready. This is a gargantuan task. And if you've only done like day sailing, it's beyond that. Because you really don't even know what you don't know until someone tells you or you find out way too late what you don't know. So, I'm going to try to tell you some stuff. I guess the first thing I would say is, when I did my first small little passage, a couple thousand miles from Los Angeles up to Seattle and then back down, I talked to tons of people that did their sail. They're amazing sailors. They can read weather. They're just really, really good sailors. What I realized, though, is after talking to the fourth or fifth person is, as good as they are at sailing, they had never left the marina of more than 5 miles. And that doesn't work out because I need spare water. I need to know about spare fuel. I need to know what spare pieces of equipment I need. I need to know about a million things, right, that these guys don't know about. It's not that their information is not valuable. It's just what you'll quickly learn is if you do go on long passages or if you do start cruising the world, you're quickly going to realize that sailing is a just very small percentage of what you're doing. In an entire year, you'll probably sail maybe, 60 days. I mean, it depends. It's going to, where you are in the world and how fast you move and all that. But I'm telling you right now, it's an incredibly low percentage that has to do with actually sailing the boat. So all that said, when I got back from Seattle, my 2,000 miles, there were a lot of things that I was like, oh, wow, I made a list. And when I got back, I started filling that list up. And while I was gone, I met some other people up north that had been cruising forever around the world, which is super cool. They gave me a ton of information. Listen to everybody. You know what I mean? Everybody just that anybody can give you that one gem. You're like, oh my God. Wow, that guy just wiped me out with that thought. You know what I mean? But take the rest with a grain of salt. There's no bad. Well, that's not true. There is certainly bad information. But if someone's offering you something, certainly take it. All right, so we're going to dive in here. What I'm going to do on my website, I spent $100,000 on my refit for my boat before I left. I bought 2 of everything, right? I read every book. I watched every stupid YouTube thing, even though this is a YouTube thing. Anything I could do to absorb information. So what I did was I made a list. I put it on my website. That way other people could look at it before they left. So they sort of have an idea what I put on my boat before I left. And my passage was, I went from America down to La Cruz in Banderas Bay in Mexico. From there, off to Polynesia, about 3,800 miles. And then from there, I've worked about 20,000 miles north and south the equator up to where I am now in Malaysia in Singapore. So quite a bit of experience under my belt at this point. And I certainly know what you need extra of what's going to break and all that jazz. But let's just start, I think, with a good baseline. I made this list, and I'm going to I'll put this list on the screen too, so you can sort of follow along with me. All right, let's see what we got here. And it's kind of sectioned off. So this is going to take a minute, so settle in. But I promise you, you're going to get a lot of really great information out of this for sure. So I have a 2006 Hunter 44 Dexalon. I bought it for a bunch of different reasons. If you're out there looking for a boat, I'm 6'2", 6'3". This says 7-foot ceilings. That was vital. The benches are all at least 7 feet, so I can lay down everywhere. That's vital. The benches on deck are 9 feet. I can lay down there, which is very, very important. I don't know. I wanted freshwater heads. There was just a giant list of things that I wanted, and this boat had all of those things. So it's got 3 cabins, V-berth, a V-berth, the main salon with the galley, and then the back berth where the captain sleeps, which is basically a cave. I love it. It's black. Obviously a microwave. I don't use it anymore. I actually broke the glass out of it intentionally, probably 2 months ago. I thought it'd be funny because I just haven't used it in so long. And it's just a waste. So the stove, obviously the oven. I have an air fryer. I love it because I'm single-handed the most of the time. So it's really hard for me to cook for myself when I'm out for, 5, 6, 8, 9, 10-day passages alone. It's great to be able to just throw the generator on, or I have lithium batteries, so I can just run them up lithium batteries, but run that thing for 10 minutes. I got hot chicken, hot French fries, hot meat, whatever I wanted, vegetables, whatever I'm trying to eat at night and have like a nice warm meal. It just feels good to have a warm meal. And when you're by yourself, it's a little bit more difficult to do that. So obviously there's a fridge and a freezer. Mine are separate, which is great. There are 3 TVs in the boat. There are no longer 3 TVs. Some of the stuff has changed since I left. 2 of the TVs one got wet. The other one I threw something at, being funny with a bunch of people in the boat, and it broke. I got a Bose surround sound system. It came with the boat. You do not need a Bose surround sound system on your boat. It's not vital. It pulls 10 amps when it's running. So don't need that. All the bulbs in the entire boat have been changed out to LEDs. Super important if you get a boat. Everything to be LEDs. The masthead, the tri-light, the steaming light, the deck light, bow light, stern light, just everything in the boat, anything in the cockpit, all LED. Don't leave with any incandescent lamps. It's a waste of power when you just don't need to waste power for a very, very inexpensive fix. I have a barbecue grill. It's great. When I'm at anchor, it's fantastic. Depending on where you go in the world, it's a little bit more difficult to get the refillable cans, the green cans, the Coleman cans, but you can find them in most places. But it's just, again, it's another good way to cook food. You have people on the boat and you're just cooking it, and it's nice to be able to barbecue some food. Down with sailing and rigging. Now, this changed before I left. So I have a B&R rig with no backstay. It means that I kind of struggle going downwind, so I sail 130, throwing a jibe. I'm not a downwind guy. I don't like to roll anyway, so it's nothing for me. I do have a whisker pole. I never use it, again, because I don't go dead downwind. I sail at a broad reach. I'll get to the same place, the same time as you, way more comfortable, which is the, break off the stern, or off the stern quarter. So I have north sails, a main, and a jib is what I had, and then I had 2 spinnakers. One was on a top-down furler. 2 days before I left, my sail guy called me. I've been working with him forever. He's like, "Hey, I have these carbon fiber cruising sails. They're for a 44 AC. They'll fit your boat. The guy doesn't want them. Do you want them?" And he offered me a price that it was stupid, and I was like, "No, I'm not paying that much money. I already dropped $100,000 to get the boat ready. I don't have another $12,000 to go." So basically, by the end of 3 days, I traded him the brand new spinnaker with a top-down furler. I don't care. I have another one. I got out of the sock. The sock is fine for me. And I don't even want to go into how much money it cost, but basically I ended up getting a really, really good deal, and I got brand new sails. So now I have my Dacron Doyle sails or my North sails stacked away if I need them. The main is super prego. I have in-mast furling, so really to use it is terrible because it just gets wrapped up in the center. I got a boom brake. Don't ever use it. I just put out dual preventers on either side. Do whatever you want it. For me, there's a block midship on either side of the boat, and there's lines that run back to the cockpit that go to the middle of the boom. For my money, if I'm jibing the boat in 20 knot winds or 25 knot winds, I want to be able to ease out one preventer and pull the other preventer in, and not even worry about the main sheet. It makes it so much easier to balance getting the sail in and out once you centered it to actually jibe. But everyone does it differently. I have the jibe easy, and I have the jibe, what's it called? The Witchard boom brake. I don't know. You're wrapping lines on there, and you run one line back, and then you're pulling tension on it, hoping that that's going to hold it. But I mean, that's fine if you're out in 15. Well, what if it jumps up to 25, and you haven't got a chance to reef yet? Well, now you're trying to jibe, and your sail goes all the way over. So for me, dual preventers. I do have wind steering. If you're going to do any passages, if you're going to get out there and do any real cruising and you're on a monohull, I do suggest that you do get some sort of wind steering. It makes all the difference in the world. Saves a ton of power. It works real simple. They're worth their weight in gold for what they do. And the 2 things that I love about it, beyond it saved me power, one is it gives me a spare rudder in case my rudder falls off. So that's huge, monumental. The other one is, on my boat, I can do a tiller-driven autopilot on the wind vane, and it steers it and that's my backup autopilot. I've used it from Yap all the way to Palau. It's 300 miles, and it's fantastic the whole way. Just this little rudder with this teeny little autopilot made for a 10,000-pound boat. So something to think about there. I carry 150 gallons of water. Make sure you get a boat that takes some water if you're going to be doing some passages. My Rain Man is 120, my water maker, which means I have to have my generator. I also have my spare generator to run my water maker. It makes 35 gallons an hour. So the nice thing about it is, even though I need AC, once I turn it on in pretty short order, I've filled my tanks back up to where they're in a good place. I also keep 2 5-gallon jerry cans in the stern with fresh water, as well as in the ditch bag. There's 25 Capri Sun size waters there. So lots of spare water. Really important if you're going to go out and do passages to have lots of spare water laying around. If you're going to go across oceans, double up on the extra stuff. Fill the tanks up and get 50 extra gallons of water in bottles. You just don't know what's going to happen. You can go without food for a really long time. You can go without water for 3 days, and then you're, out of it. So, let's see here. Fuel, I carry I carry 60 gallons in the boat, which is not a lot at all. It's kind of a bummer. 55 gallons in the boat. And then I have 60 gallons in jerry cans on either side. The goal was for me at 1,800 knots, I want to be able to go 5.5 and go 1,000 miles. That was the math that I did to make sure how much fuel I had. Because I figured, all right, if I'm going to sail, my first long passage is going to be to French Polynesia and it's going to be 3,800 miles. I want to know at least 1/4 of that when I get to the equator and get to the doldrums, at least 1/4 I can fully power through using the diesel on the boat. The engine room, 56 horsepower Yanmar, it's great. Dripless stuffing. All right, with my dripless, I have a thing that's called an SOS. You should really look it up. It's basically, it's a sack that if something happens to your dripless, because driplesses, they just go. It's not like the normal one. It wraps around it and 2 zip ties go on it if it does pop. It's made of Kevlar. And what it does is it slows the input of water going into your boat to like a dribble, so your bilge pumps can keep up until you can get somewhere until we can actually fix the thing. 'Cause you really can't fix it while you're out. That's a really difficult thing to repair. I got a Balmer 120 volt alternator. I also have an MC. I think it's MC16, that's the only one that has it's the external regulator. That's the only one that has the actual settings for lithium batteries. So the previous models do not. So make sure if you have lithium batteries, get the right external regulator for your alternator if you do have one. Max prop, feathering prop. It's a huge difference when you're sailing. It really is worth the money. If you're going to go a long way and you can be out for a long time, it's definitely worth spending the money to get some sort of feathering prop. If you're just doing day sails, this is not a big deal. I would not waste thousands of dollars on one of those propellers. But to each their own. You get a knot, and over the course of 5 days, a knot is a really big deal, one way or another. I have a shaft shark kelp cutter, and basically that's like it's like a saw blade that's around the shaft for the prop. So basically the thought is anything goes in there, once it gets grabbed in the prop, it just gets eaten up on that blade. It does a good job. I've had a few things I've wrapped. I've had a few things go through. What it normally does is just wrap things up on the blade, which is fine because they're before the prop. And that's really what you want, is things not to get into the propeller, where you can really do damage to your strut, you can really do damage to your shaft, you can really do damage to the prop if that thing gets wound up and jumps on you. So this boat is a bow thruster. Do you need a bow thruster? No, you don't. But I'm that guy who was like, oh, look at that guy, his bow thruster. He can't dock his boat worth of nothing. And now that I have one, I'm like, are you kidding me? It's so simple. Done. So if you have one, it's awesome. If you don't, I went years without one. It's not, certainly not, you have to have it by any sense at all. For generators, I have a Panda 6K that's built in. It's diesel, so it runs off the actual tanks of the boat. And then I have a Generac 2400 on startup, and then it runs at 2200 as a backup. That's gasoline that stays hidden away. If you're going to do long passages and you're going to go far away from places, we'll talk power in a minute. But having a small generator as a backup is just not a bad idea. Because there's a lot of places, like once you leave America, once you leave Mexico and start going, there's no marinas forever for like, I don't know, 6 months. So you need to either have good solar, hydro, wind, or some kind of generator to help you make power. I would look to, if you're in the States or if you're in the first world right now and you're going to leave, get a Honda. The 2200 is what everyone buys. The Honda I or something like that. I would have bought one, but I had to buy one in Casa Rai, not in the Americas. So next up is navigation and weather stuff. This conversation alone could be like 3 hours, but like, you know, the Raymarine ST60 stuff is fine. The Autopilot's Raymarine. The Garmin 800 is my AAS. Someone convinced me to get the Garmin, even though everything else is Raymarine. It really doesn't matter. It's just NEMA stuff. So it doesn't know. But I would have gotten the 750 Raymarine had I not listened to this one person. But, you know, what are you going to do? I have a really good chart plotter. If you get a good chart plotter, you need to find a way to navigate. It's important. You can do a laptop with like OpenCPN and then get like a Yacht Devices Wi-Fi gateway so you can plug that in and all your NEMAs over online and you can get to your laptop. The problem that is you're going to miss, what do you miss? You miss radar. You're not going to get radar because that doesn't go to OpenCPN. There's just a bunch of different things. It's good to have a good chart plotter if you can afford one. If you can't, get a laptop, get an iPad, get something like that and use OpenCPN. You can use Navionics on an iPad. Obviously, does quite well. It's the same as the chart plotter. Some of the iPads in some of the laptops do not have built-in GPS. So if you go buy a new device with the goal of having it for navigation, maybe look. I actually have a thing. It's called a Bad Elf, and it's a Bluetooth. It's a Bluetooth GPS for assisted GPS. You basically plug it in, and it adds GPS to any device via Bluetooth, which works pretty cool. Quantum 2 Doppler radar, that's awesome. You turn the Doppler, and basically anything that's green, you don't have to worry about. Anything that's red is going to hit you, or like potentially going to hit you. So it's one of those two. It's either that way or the other way, but it's really the way that it works out. It makes it easier to just look at the radar and be like, oh, I'm okay. The Iridium Go, obviously, that's the bee's knees, the Iridium Go, for getting weather offshore. If you're going to do a big passage, you need to have that. The Garmin InReach is the only thing for every sailor. It is the best little communication device you can get. It's $100 used, $14 a month. Works anywhere on the planet. It hooks up Bluetooth, so you don't have to worry about it. Just always hooked up. Works like WhatsApp. It works like iMessage. And it works everywhere on the planet, sending text messages using satellite. It's like, it is the greatest backup redundancy of anything ever on your boat. Honestly, in my opinion, there's no reason to. Everybody should have one, let's put it that way. So, I had a Raymarine camera that was made to be outside, and I destroyed it. Now it's not, doesn't work anymore. I also had an Amcrest 5 megapixel, destroyed that too. All three of the cameras I had did not last the bow more than probably 4 months before they had gotten water inside of them. So they were not as durable as they had said. I have night vision goggles. I don't know. I've never used them. I think they're still in a box somewhere. They're just not. It's not something I really need. They only look like 100 yards, so it's just not. I don't know. It's kind of a novelty thing. For communication, 2 standard Horizon handheld radios. One's a backup, obviously. I got rid of the ICOM M402, and I replaced it with a standard Horizon RAM mic up at the helm. I still have the 718 SSB radio. It's ready to go as a backup. The Garmin InReach is in there twice. There is again. And the Iridium Go is in there twice. There is again, because they do both. Also, Starlink. I have Starlink now. So really, Starlink does what all of those things do at one time. So Starlink works really well. Here's an important thing to learn. Starlink works great. I've had friends, I use it all the way across the Atlantic Ocean. I never used lost signal once. I'm like, cool. I went all the way across the Indian Ocean. It worked all the way. Great. I'm in Malaysia. It rains every day. When it rains every day, I have no service for 2 hours while the clouds are above me. Beyond that, and more importantly, and this is what you really do need to understand, if you're going to put Starlink in your boat and depend on it, that dish is not made for the ocean. If it cracks, no more dishy. You know, if the cable comes unseated and you get ocean water in the port or on the connector for the cable, no more dishy. There's 40 feet of wire running through, you know, to get from one point in the boat to the other. Chafing's a thing when the boats are bouncing. So, no more dishy. At the modem itself, the port could break, cable could break, the modem could break, the power cable could break, the inverter could break, because right now it's running 120, right? It's running AC, not DC. I have DC stuff on the way, but it really only takes one thing out. I say all this to mean, if you're going to do a long passage, don't depend on Starlink all of the time. Have the Iridium Go, have the InReach, have the SSB, have something else, or some sort of something as a backup. I have a video, it's called Comms and Forecasting. If you want to check it out, it is specifically about Starlink, the Iridium Go, Garmin InReach, and the SSB. So it's a really good video to help you that kind of thing. Tools, all of them. All of them. Just all of them. Allen sets, wrenches. I don't know. I have 3 socket sets. I have like 3 sets of screwdrivers. I have 2 drills. I've redundancy of everything. Just anything you could possibly think you might need ever, buy it. And if you don't have a lot of money, my first boat I actually bought, and it was a pretty crappy set, but I bought a Stanley set that had like everything, like wrenches and screwdrivers and all that stuff, and it was like, I don't know, $150. It's actually really good. It lasted, I don't know, probably lasted a year before it all rusted up. It just, the stuff, eventually everything in the boat rusts away, so. So inside for our internal electronics, Victron everything. I have Victron everything, so just know that. I have the servos back here. The screen is right there. I have both my MPPT controllers are Victron. My shunt is Victron. Everything's Victron. The auto transformer is Victron. The inverter charger 3000 Victron. The auto transformer is great. If you're leaving the States and you're going to do some cruising, just know you're in a 110 boat and you're going to a 220 world. So the auto transformer will allow you to plug 220 into that and then go into your inverter so you can actually make power and like charge your stuff while you're in a marina. It's a really big deal. And a lot of my friends, they knew I bought mine and they had already left the States. And like I don't know, the second place we got to, they were like hunting to get one put in there. So just understand that device exists and is pretty important. I have 1,000 watts of lithium batteries. They're Chinese lithium batteries. I got them in Sarong, which is in Indonesia. They were cheap, but all of my wet cell batteries had kind of died. So it was time for new batteries. So I just, they're really good batteries. My friends had them. And switching from wet cell to lithium, it's like going from a horse and buggy to a Ferrari. The difference is, for those of you that don't understand it, obviously it does bulk, absorb, and then float, right? Those are the 3 main settings. Well, with wet cell, it probably stops bulk at like 80% or somewhere around there, 80 or 85%. Whereas lithium batteries will do bulk all the way up. So it's just getting hammered with power until it's literally like almost pretty much topped off. So they're just way better for a bunch of different reasons. I have about 1,000 watts worth of solar. Definitely have solar. Definitely have solar. Definitely have solar. Whatever you're going to do, if it's not convenient, find a way to make it convenient. If it's got to be ugly, make it ugly. You have to have solar. It's just so important. You can get wind. It is not a replacement. I mean, you cannot run the generator all the time. You cannot run your motor all the time. You're going to have solar. It's going to have to work well. And it's basically whatever, go out with your boat, do a shakedown cruise for a week, and every day see how much power you use. And then make sure you have that much solar, double. So you can use that power during the day and also charge your batteries. Let's see here. What else we got? Ubiquiti Wi-Fi standard, that's in the ocean. Backup electronics, I have a backup Xantrex inverter charger, backup Xantrex shunt, and then I have 2 backup MPP controllers for my solar, because again, You have to have solar. Oh, geez. So shore power, I'm just going to, look, I have all the connectors. I have 50 to 30Y, 30 to 50Y, 30 female. I mean, just every version of adapter you can get, I have and have built. And have further continued to do that since I left. I got dinghy davits in the back. You got the dinghy. 15 horsepower two-stroke is the best motor on the planet, Yamaha. It is around the world the #1 motor everybody has. There's Yamaha stores everywhere on the planet. They are reasonably priced, and they work forever and ever and ever. So I just, for my money, I had a 15 horsepower Mercury. It died every 3 days, but it was way, way faster. It's all about the Yamaha. Yamaha is just the greatest thing ever. Do make sure. I had problems with my dinghies forever. I mean, forever. I mean, I disassembled and took apart the carburetors like 7 times. When I was in Ponape in Micronesia, I bought a water separator and fuel filter for the dinghy. Have not had an issue yet since. It literally fixed the problem overnight. Have not had one problem since I installed that. And it used to be the bane of my existence. I don't know if it's the right word. But it was the worst part of my day, was getting the dinghy and hoping it was going to function. So you might want to look into getting one of those. You cannot find those out of the States, so get them where in the States. Ground tackle, I have a 45-pound Delta on the bow, stainless steel, with 300 feet of chain, 3/8. Have 300 feet. You just never know where you're going to go, when you're going to go there. I know that in 40-knot winds, I can just dump it all, and I'll be good. Lots and lots of scope. So I do have an extra Delta. I have an extra Bruce, and I also have a 23-pound Fortress for my as my stern anchor. The other ones I use as ballast. I don't really need both of them, but I have them, so I can get rid of them. Let's see what we got here. Stabilizer. So I have a Magma rock and roll stabilizer. I used it more when I had girls on my boat in Los Angeles that didn't like to swing. It does work. You kick it out off the boom, throw the boom out. It does work pretty well. I don't know. For me, it's just an extra thing to deal with. So I'm alone. I really don't care. Have an air compressor. I use mine for my hookah. So I have an air compressor and I have a hookah, so I can clean the bottom of my boat with a 50-foot hookah hose and in my regulator, or I can use it as an air compressor. So it works both ways. Let me see here. The hookah, there's that. I have 2 pony bottles that I use that fill up. I also have 4 full-size scuba tanks. These charge off those tanks. And I followed my prop 2 weeks ago, leaving, or 3 weeks ago, leaving Jakarta. And I just fill this thing up, go underneath, and it just sits in my mouth. It's one of those tank things like this. And it gives me about a minute and a half's worth of air. But it's enough for me to go down there and hack something off. If it's not, like last time, I had to go up and refill it a couple times, but I'll bring the scuba tank to the back of the boat, so I'm kind of reach out, fill it, go back down, do my thing a couple times, and then it's finished. But if you're going to try to, if you file something and you're going to try to cut it away with the snorkel, you're going to have a really, really long day in front of you. Very, very long day in front of you. All right, safety. This is important. So I have 2 EPIRBs, the old EPIRBs in the boat, and my EPIRB is on the boat, the one that I bought, both registered to me. I have 3 ACR, I added one, 3 ACR personal locators that are inside of the life vests. The seal or sink packing seal saver, that is it's made for the dripless. It's amazing. If you don't know, please look it up. It's a lifesaver if something happens with your dripless. Revere Life Raft. I have a Revere Life Raft on deck. It's hydrostatic. I didn't have to buy hydrostatic, but I bought one, which means basically if the boat sinks, it'll go off while it's under. A bunch of fire extinguishers. I actually now have 5 Mustang offshore life vests. I have 5 Kong tethers. I have 5 crotch straps. If you're on deck at night, you should be wearing a crotch strap. If you're wearing this life vest right here, there's no crotch strap. So if you were to fall off, it's going to grab, your arm's going to go up, and you're going to slide out. You don't have to buy a crotch strap. You can just tie a line between your legs. You need one way so that you're not going to fall out of the life vest. and you'll forget it's there in like 9 seconds. Jack lines, obviously, on the other side of the boat. They're always out. The emergency air balls, those are the balls I was just talking about. I have a drogue and a chute. Do I need them? Probably not. I do really long passages. The parachute's great because if you're going to fix something at sea, you can throw it out and it just holds you. It's a 15-foot parachute that basically holds the boat nose into the swell so you can work without getting rolled sideways. And then the drogue, exact opposite. If you're in really high winds at really big seas, you don't want to race down and pitch pull. You want to be able to slow yourself down. You put the drogue out and it slows your speed down so you're not just racing down 80-foot waves really fast. The downside with both of them is you have to have 10 foot of line per 1 foot of the boat. So it's 400 feet of line you have to get out. And then on top of that, there's a bridle for both for front and back. The bridle's another 40 feet. So it's really long. It's not a fast thing. You just have to, like, when you need it, it's going to be 45 minutes to get it out. So the drogue especially, if you feel you're going to need it because of weather, act early. I mean, you can also use debris fields. There's other things you can do to kind of slow yourself down, but the drogue obviously works the best. Life sling. Every boat should have a life sling. There's no excuse not to. Or some sort of device, a ring with line on it that has like 60 feet of line. Strobe. All of my life vests have strobes on them. All of them do. 4-spar overman. I don't even know what the hell that is. The 4-spar man overboard system. I don't know. I guess it's important. It's probably something I had in the boat, and it'll come to me in a minute. 4-spar man overboard system. I do have, and I know it's not that, but it's worth mentioning. I do have a Raymarine. There's 4 bracelets, and I have ACR. There's like 6 bracelets, and basically you put the hub center line on the boat, and if someone goes more than 20 feet from the hub, it alerts you on your phone and beeps at the station. So basically, if someone falls off, it goes beep, tells you when and where, and drops a pin where they left, so you know what is the Latin launch where they hit the water, basically. So it's pretty cool to have. I don't use mine a lot because I'm alone. The ditch bag has 2 weeks worth of food and 2 weeks worth of water for 4 people. There is a first aid kit, there's a tool kit, there's a Standard Horizon radio with a rack of AAAs to stick in there. There's a flashlight. There's a radio that's solar and it has a crank, and the plug is crank so you can like charge things like the radio or your phone with this while you're grinding. And obviously flares and glow sticks. So let's see. So many things. You ready? You ready to go now? This is like the stuff I've named so far, if you just remove the boat, is probably $100,000. So just understand that you don't have to do it like I did it, but it is not there. You certainly don't want to skimp on the things that are important. So the spares, like I said, I have 2 spare anchors, 2 spare bilge pumps, 2 spare flappers, 1 spare macerator, 1 spare water pump, 2 spare alternators, 1 spare Yanmar starter, 2 solenoids from my stove, 20 fuel filters, 5 oil filters. The fuel filters are super important. If you get bunk fuel, I've gone through 10 fuel filters in like 15 minutes if you get bunk fuel. So you really have just a pile of fuel filters before you set out, especially if you're going to be motoring or going in far distances. I have a spare masthead wind instrument for Raymarine. That's things like $300. You can get those nowhere. And that's one thing you do want to have where you go is know where your wind's coming from. I have a spare thermostat, whatever. It's actually, my engine and my generator do not have a thermostat in there. The water's so warm down here, it doesn't matter. Anyway, a bunch of impellers for the Panda, a bunch of impellers for the Yanmar, and a bunch of belts as well for the Yanmar and for the Panda. So go nuts with those things. Like if you think you got enough, buy 10 more. Because I've thrown so many belts and used so many filters, it just goes beyond. I've motored thousands of hours now, thousands of hours at this point. You motor as much as you sail. So the last one is stuff. I have a couple paddle boards. I don't use them unless It's hard to get ashore. The dinghy, I'll just paddleboard ashore. If I think someone might steal the dinghy. Got a surfboard for sure. Got all my scuba stuff, 2 sets of scuba stuff. I have an extra BCD for my friends that come visit me. It's called a free size. So no matter who it is, it'll fit them. From a small woman to a big dude, it's called a free size. So just if you're on your own, you want to buy something like spare so everyone can use, free size BCD. Throwing spear, obviously, spear gun, obviously, all that good stuff. To go fishing, lots of fishing rods and line and all that good jazz. A bunch of hammocks. There's a hammock in the cockpit. There's a hammock that goes from here to here, and there's a hammock that goes from the headstay to the mast. They're all very comfortable. I have a projector and a screen that goes in the bow. It's all wireless, and it's all battery, so I can take it ashore and watch like a movie on shore with my friends or the locals, which I've done a few times with the locals, and they love it. So I have tension bands, a 40-pound medicine ball, 2 jump ropes, and a yoga mat in hand and feet weights. You got to have something when you're doing long passages to exert energy. And those tension bands and that, it's a smash ball. It's not a medicine ball, it's a smash ball, so it's squishy. So you're not going to hurt anything. Those are great to have in the cockpit. You can just move around with them and twist and kind of get some movement while you're going at night when you're on shift. I have a hard drive with like 4,000 movies. That really doesn't matter anymore because I have Starlink, so I don't really care. Tons of board games, tons of card games, tons of art stuff, 2 ukuleles, harmonica, a guitar, just anything to entertain. There's a Nintendo. There was an Xbox, but now it's in the ocean. By that, I mean the garbage. I didn't actually throw it in the ocean. So that's about it. Let me just look at my list here and make sure I didn't miss anything. I said, Well, I guess 2 things to talk about here that are important. First one is tracking. So if you have a Garmin inReach, that will track, and people can see where you are, like your family and your friends. I use the Predict Wind page. If you don't know what that is, look it up. Their tracking page is way better, way sleeker, easier to use. It's just better. And then the KML data that runs that comes off of my inReach. So it's good to have a tracking page for everyone. If you have crew on, you know what I mean, anything like that, just you can send it to their family. It's good to have some sort of tracking page if you can. Let's see here. That's about it, really. I mean, unless you want me to talk about more stuff that costs more money. The one thing I'm going to close with here, because America, is so this thing is glued on the head door. When you walk down the companionway, it's the very first thing you see when you come onto my boat. And it basically is the name of the boat, my name, my cell phone number, my email, my Instagram, what the boat looks like, the Iridium Go phone numbers and emails, the Garmin inReach phone number, the satellite email, the MMSI for the DSC calling and for just the boat in general, the numbers for the EPIRBs, which is 3 of them, so it shows all 5 what the numbers are. I have a Regatta life vest that goes off. It's it's green, highly visible green, so that's on here. So if someone finds the boat and not me, they know they're looking for a green life raft somewhere. My documentation number for the Coast Guard, my hull identification number, the tracking for the boat, and then my mother's and father's cell phone number and email. The idea is I'm alone on my boat a lot. It's quite a bit, actually, majority of the time. So if I fall overboard and someone finds the boat, it lands on shore, or someone finds it drifting, there's lots of ways to look for me on here. Lots and lots of ways to look for me, right? They can call my parents, just so my parents know they're involved, but there's lots of ways for them to find me. The other thing is, if you're bringing crew onto your boat, or family, or anyone onto your boat, email them a digital copy of this, right? Then they can give it to all their family and friends. So, like, if you bring crew on, you get off a crew bay or a Facebook Hitchhikers or something like that, and you've never met them before, and they're kind of nervous, be like, here you go. This is every piece of information about me and my family and my boat. You can track me 3 different ways just by this piece of paper. So it's just good to have on the boat. I also have, and this is sort of morbid, again, I'm single-handed, my will is right here. And then this piece is right here as well. If you lift up the chart table, if my will, same thing. All the contact with my family's on there. You never know where, if something, God forbid, happens to you in what country. If there's probate or whatever. However, if my parents have to get the boat back, just so there's a clear, like, on the boat, like, okay, he wants his boat to go to that person. It sounds stupid. My boat's like $200,000 with another $200,000 worth of stuff on it, right? So if I disappear or for some reason something very bad happens to me, I want to make sure that the boat and everything on it and all my stuff gets back to my folks, or my folks is who I have it left to. So, but look, that's all I got. If you have any questions about this stuff, email me, Instagram me. It's all on my website. It's all on my YouTube page. I love talking boating. I love just, look, I'm 20,000 miles into circumnavigating right now, sitting in Malaysia, about to head up to Phuket here pretty shortly, to Thailand. It is the best life. It is the only life. It is an incredibly difficult life, to be sure. It is incredibly difficult. Things break, bad weather, just stuff happens. You don't have to try to make it bad. It's the ocean. It'll make it difficult for you. That said, my dad sent me something a couple weeks ago, and it was pretty, I don't know, it basically alludes to the fact that anything as amazing as this is will be equally as difficult, or it's not worth it. You know what I mean? It's just not, you're not going to get the same thing out of it. Like, anything in life that is this great has got to be this low as well. It's just, that's the only, if it was always this great, well, you just never know. So that's all I got, guys. Like I said here, Brian Hathaway, Holdcast number 46 on Hold Fast in Malaysia. Christmas in like 3 days. Hopefully Santa's going to find the boat. Highly doubtful, but yeah, you never know. Bye.